with us once asking the Lord our God to come to Prato, to guard us in all peace this holy day and all the days of our life.
Let us pray. Lord, have mercy.
Thanks to the Lord God to come to Prato, Father, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We thank you for every condition, concerning every condition and every condition. For you have covered us, helped us, guarded us, protected us, and brought us to this hour.
Pray that God may have mercy and compassion upon us, hear us, help us, and accept the supplications and prayers of His saints, for that which is good on our behalf at all times, and forgive us our sins. Lord, have mercy.
Therefore we ask and entreat your goodness, O lover of mankind, grant us, O Lord, to complete this holy day, all the days of our life, and all peace with your fear. All envy, all temptation, all the rock of Satan, the counsel of wicked men, rising up of enemies hidden and manifest, take them away from us, and from all your people, and from the stony place which is yours. Those things which are unprofitable do provide for us. It is you who have the authority to tread on serpents and scorpions, and upon all the power of the enemy.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Father Marcus and the Board of Deacons and the entire congregation of St. Mark Coptic Orthodox Church in Seven Hills, Ohio, welcome and thank you for being here with us today as we remember and celebrate the life and legacy of His Holiness Pope Shenouda III of blessed memory. Today we are gathered here to celebrate the honorary name Pope Shenouda III Street on McCreary Road and to open the museum of His Holiness Pope Shenouda III in the church. This special honor of naming this street after His Holiness will forever be a reminder of how much His Holiness loved our church and its congregations in the city of Seven Hills and the city of Cleveland. His Holiness was born Nazir David in August 1923 in Assyut, Egypt. He graduated from Cairo University in 1947 and from the Coptic Orthodox Seminary in 1949. He entered the monastery in 1954 and was consecrated the Bishop of Christian Education and the Dean of the Theological School in 1962. On November 14, 1971, His Holiness was consecrated as the Pope of Alexandria and the Patriarch of the See of St. Mark, the head of the Coptic Orthodox Church worldwide. On March 17, 2012, His Holiness departed in the Lord after 40 years, 40 months and 40 days, on the papal throne of Saint Mark the Evangelist and the Apostle. His Holiness was the disciple of Christ that we had in our midst. We were blessed to live in a time where we know someone who truly embodied the person and the spirit of our Lord Jesus Christ. For over 40 years, Pope Shenouda faithfully guided his flock and offered everything for them. We always say in Cleveland that His Holiness chose Cleveland to be his second home. We're proud of that, especially the city of Seven Hills. As His Holiness visited us in Cleveland, and in particular in Seven Hills, 32 times since the first historical visit in 1977 until his departure in peace 2012. He came to us first for pastoral care, to take care of his flock. He loved the city, he loved the people, he knew many of us by their name. And also His Holiness came for medical treatment at the wonderful and the best hospital, the Cleveland Clinic. Your Holiness, we miss you a lot. But we know that you pray for us. And thank God who give us His Holiness Pope Tawadros II, who continue in the legacy of His Holiness Pope Shenouda III. And here I would like to thank His Holiness Pope Tawadros, because without him we cannot have the museum of His Holiness. I visited Egypt on the enthronement of His Holiness Pope Tawadros, and Bishoy Mikhail, my son, was with me, and we met His Holiness the next day of the consecration. The first people met His Holiness after the consecration, and then we have a lot of discussion, and then I asked Pope Tawadros if he allow us to keep all the remains and all the belonging of His Holiness with us here in Cleveland, as His Holiness has his residence here in Seven Hills, either in my house or in the church house, so we have a lot of his belonging. And kindly, His Holiness Pope Tawadros said, yes, by all means, I know how much you love him and he loves you and the church. You have all what you're belonging to your church. And Bishoy, when find His Holiness with all this generosity, he said, Your Holiness, can we have something extra from what you have upstairs? And His Holiness agreed. And he sent to us a lot of belonging. You are going to see what we have here in the museum. I think what we have here in the museum, maybe it will be next to what they have in Egypt, and nobody else will have it all over the world. Thank you, Your Holiness, Pope Tawadros, with that. Again, I would like to thank all of you for being here with us today, and I will turn the microphone to Sherry Mikhail. Midday.
Thank you, Dad. It's my honor today, and I'm so honored to introduce our special guest to you today. But first, let me go over the program very briefly so that everybody knows what's going on. Our federal and state officials will give remarks inside the church. Our guests will then go to the museum and view the collection of memorabilia. of Pope Shenouda. Today is the first unveiling, so we're so honored that you're here to participate with us. We'll then proceed outside with our guests for the honorary street designation, where our mayor of Seven Hills and members of Seven Hills City Council will give the official designation. As our guests are viewing the memorabilia, the ushers will escort the rest of the congregation out to the street where we will have the unveiling. After the ceremony, the rest of the congregation will have the opportunity to see all of the memorabilia in the museum. Today's ceremony will be swift and magnificent. There's one small detail I want to highlight. As we were putting the event together, the volunteers were a little nervous about getting 500 of us out on the street corner in an orderly fashion, but I am so confident that we can do it. So let's help them out. Thank you to the volunteers today. I'm going to recognize our special guests. I'm going to ask, there's a lot of you, and I appreciate that. I'm going to ask that you all remain standing. We'll all hold our applause until I'm done introducing the guests. We have several friends from the Cleveland Clinic who treated, cared, and protected Pope Shenouda during his medical visits. These individuals went above and beyond the world-class care that the Cleveland Clinic is known for. They treated Sayyidna as family. Dr. Rusharp, Dr. Lorenz, Dr. Kalfas, as you all know, we have an abundance of doctors in our church who work for the Cleveland Clinic and took the utmost care of Pope Shenouda. I'd like to recognize them here today too. I'd also like to recognize Jim Brundage, who took care of Sayyidna's security. Thank you. We also have the great opportunity to meet former mayors of the city of Seven Hills. Mayor Richard Ganem is here with his wife, Mrs. Ganem. Gerald Trafis is here as well. He was the mayor when we moved to Seven Hills. We have some of Sayyidna's personal security detail. Lieutenant Jeff Gazmalas here, and former Seven Hills detective Ron Durkin, who took extra great care of Sayyidna when he first started coming. Thank you. Like I mentioned before, making this day possible was the current mayor of Seven Hills and the City Council of Seven Hills. We're honored today to have Mayor Richard Dell'Aquila with us. Councilman of this ward, Peter Dragnick. Councilman at Large, Matt Trafis. We're also lucky today to have the City of Seven Hills engineer, Mark Papkick. That's Mark here. Okay, thank you. And a dear friend to our church, our congregation, and the Middle East community, North Royalton Councilman Paul Marnichuk. Thank you all. We also have our state representatives and federal representatives. We have State Representative Marlene Elneski. We have a representative from U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown's office, Meredith Turner. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our new Congresswoman, Marcia Fudge. Thank you all for being here and for understanding how important this event is for us and for making it possible. Thank you. enthusiastic support of these representatives is why the city of Seven Hills is a magnificent place to worship, and in my case, and in a lot of your cases, a wonderful place to live. My husband and I moved back to Seven Hills when we had our firstborn because this is the community we wanted to raise our family in. So thank you. It's another reason that Pope Shenouda made this his second home. First, I'd like to recognize a real asset to our community. Meredith Turner, who's representing U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown, is his Director of Immigration Affairs. Remember her name, Meredith Turner. We asked Ms. Turner to bring a lot of business cards with her because I know that someone's going to ask for it when we're done with the ceremony, so she's willing to do that. I want to say thank you on behalf of the congregation to Senator Brown. Senator Brown has tirelessly advocated for the poor. His recent stance against cutting federal funding for food stamps is greatly appreciated. No one wants to end up on food stamps, but sometimes it happens. It's a safety net that our government provides for us to get people back on their feet. And we're familiar with that because that's the spirit of how we treat each other in our congregation. We help each other get back on our feet. Meredith, please extend our thanks to Senator Brown, and thank you again for joining us today. Our first speaker is special to our community, our state representative, Marlene Anelski. She's been a friend to the Middle Eastern community through Cameo, which is the Cleveland American Middle East organization. Representative Anelski has been an advocate for our veterans. She has recently pushed to change the laws to assist our veterans to find employment upon their return from their tour of duty. Her legislation has allowed them to come back and to use their licenses, even though they've expired during the time that they were mobilized. We have the utmost respect for any representative who fights for the rights of our veterans. Please welcome State Representative Anelski.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the 130th General Assembly, I would like to congratulate everyone here today and also your congregation members that perhaps could not make it here today. And I know that when we dedicate the road outside McCreary Road, that is very, very special to the church. I have been to the church before. I have usually been outside going down the slides when you have your picnics. So that's when I have been here. But I just want to thank you for the invitation, offer my congratulations, and also give you an accommodation to not only recognize the church, recognize the road, and make sure that everybody remembers that we are all here for one another, your members, and also the military personnel. And if you have not registered, I am always for the military personnel. Please go online, ohiovet.gov, to get the benefits that you deserve. Thank you.
Our next speaker is U.S. Congresswoman Marcia Fudge. I always envisioned introducing somebody that I admire and aspire to become like. Today's that day. I have watched the Congresswoman since she first became appointed and then elected. Before being our representative in Congress, she was the first woman and the first African American ever to be mayor of the city of of Warrensville Heights. She's a trailblazer and a true role model. She's an incredible Congress member, but she's an even more incredible woman. She's encouraging of youth programs such as ours, and is so impressed that our church is always buzzing with activity. She is especially proud of our ability to retain our youth and the ability to grow regionally, providing Copts a place to worship. I could go on about her many, many accomplishments, but it's unnecessary. She's a leader in Washington, a woman of immense integrity, a genuine and sincere person. We are fortunate to have her here today. Please welcome our United States Representative, Congresswoman Marcia Fudge.
Good afternoon, Father McHale, and Father Marcos. Thank you so much for having me here today. It is indeed a privilege to join you on this occasion. Seven Hills is one of the communities that became a part of my district just this year, and I now represent more than 700,000 people in 32 communities in Summit and Cuyahoga counties. It is my privilege to serve you all. And as I learn more about the people, the vibrant institutions, and organizations in the new district, I feel honored to be of service to you. I did a little homework, Sherry, to learn about Pope Shenouda. And I understand that you had a warm and personal connection to a great patriarch. I was drawn by one paragraph in particular on your website, and it described the special attention he paid to youth. His Holiness has said many times, a church without youth is a church without a future. And one of the youth in this church once replied to His Holiness, and youth without a church are youth without a future. Your church was blessed to be led by a man of wisdom who clearly formed a bond with young people. The fact that your congregation continues to grow and so many members of all ages remain active in this church is a testament to his guidance and the vibrancy of your faith. I am also concerned about youth. One of my priorities is to ensure that all of our nation's youth have access to a quality education. Education is, in fact, the pathway out of poverty. It is the great equalizer. Education is critical to preparing young people for the jobs of the 21st century. And I'm also proud of your commitment to keeping college affordable. America is at its best when we live up to the values of providing equal opportunity for all of our citizens. When the laws of our nation recognize that opportunity must not be granted to some people and not to others, based on their social status, their gender, race, or religion. I am proud of the diversity of this district. It is truly one of the most diverse in the country in many ways. And I am committed to do all I can to ensure that our government treats all people fairly and with respect. My district staff and I stand ready to assist you with many issues as well, including immigration and passport matters, federal programs such as the Small Business Administration, Medicare, and Social Security. We have offices very near you, about 17 minutes away on Warrensville Center Road. So in closing, it is an honor to join you today for this dedication ceremonies honoring the late Pope Shenouda. In the Gospel of St. Mark, Jesus reminded us, whoever wishes to become great among you shall be your servant. And whosoever wishes to be first among you shall be slave of all. In serving you, Pope Shenouda served the Lord well. We can all learn from his example. God bless.
This concludes this portion of the ceremony, so I'm going to ask the ushers if they can please guide our honored guests, and everyone else, please just stay in your seats, and the ushers will be back to escort you out to the street corner. Thank you.
squeeze it so that I get everybody in the picture? Okay. Amen.
So we're going to do a quick tour. It's a small room. But we picked this room for a couple of reasons. There's two rooms next to each other. This used to be the secretary's office and Father Michael's office in there. Pope Shenouda actually used that office a few times. And so we thought it was a great space. These are some of the objects we have. It's a mix, like Father said in church, from items that were left here in Cleveland when he stayed, or items that the new Pope, Pope Tawadros, his successor, sent to us. So for example, his crown, this cross, the leather cross, the hand cross, all came to us from the new Pope. This chalice was consecrated by Pope Shenouda at the opening of this church in 1989. So we took it out of the collection to leave here. Some of the other items are gifts he either used to give as papal gifts or gifts he received. So this silver platter is from our church in Mexico when he was there in Mexico. And there's some from Brazil, Bolivia, all over the world. And then we have his frequent stay card at the Intercontinental, priority rewards card, and a watch. It has his name on it. He stayed a lot at the Intercontinental, so he had a lot of points. And then we'll use this TV later on. We only put a few pictures now for time, but we'll use that later on for videos, educational purposes, and things like that. Then on this side we have one of his frequently used non-liturgical capes, and we can tell that because it's a little frayed, so we know he wore it a lot. And this and the pastoral staff were a gift from his successor, Pope Tawadros. Back to the Intercontinental, this chair was his preferred chair. So no matter what room he stayed in, they would bring this chair from whatever room it was in for him to use. So after his departure and passing, Father Michael requested from the hotel to buy it from them. And then he said, we'll pay whatever, but if you want, we'll accept it as a gift. And so it's a gift from the Intercontinental at Cleveland Clinic. I'll show you this robe only because it's a little different from the ones in the other room, because it shows how he modified his life because of his medical condition. So usually these sleeves are sewn and there's no zipper, but because he was being dialyzed and he didn't want to wear the hospital gowns, they put a zipper from under the arm all the way down to the wrist. And so we have it open, and it just shows how situations cause things to change in his story. He loved Turkish coffee. And so, and I usually would make it for him. This Turkish coffee kettle and the mug he used often. And this is a picture from his first visit to Cleveland in 1977, drinking coffee. So we thought we'd put that together. Moving on then to this next room, we have a liturgical cape. That was a gift from Pope Tawadros and his liturgical pastoral staff. And we put this here so you can see the embroidery on all sides. So let me get into this case is for now temporary. We're going to do something more, but these are a selection of the 170 books he wrote over his life in English. Then most were translated, Arabic. Most are translated into English and maybe 10 other languages. But we're thinking of doing kind of an interactive, but it'll take a little more time. These are some of his headgear, liturgical and white, black for every day. And then I'll tell you the story behind this picture. This was one of the last really nice portraits taken from him, but it wasn't a seating. It was when President Obama was speaking in Cairo in 2008. And Pope Shenouda was in the front row, and the White House photographer snapped this, and I found it on the White House Flickr site. It was legal to take, so we took it. It's actually spread like wildfire. This is one of his most popular pictures, thanks to the White House photographer. Then in the far corner there, and we'll wrap up, there's an icon of the Theotokos, the Mother of God, St. Mary, that was given to this church by the Pope, and then to the right of it, there's two handwritten cards. Those are probably from the late 70s, and they were his cards that he would use for his weekly address to the people. And so this is about the relationship between man and God. And then underneath there are two handwritten cards that he had sent my dad. One when he got his master's degree,
and one when he got his doctorate. And both were handwritten and sent to him from then. Right over Jeff's shoulder is a portrait from the White House, from the Oval Office, with the first President Bush. And then we'll finish with that tiny black and white picture, which is his first official portrait as Pope in November 1971. So if you look, we've tried to get a mix of the generations that he really covered from 71 all the way till his departure. So we're going to, it's a rare collection. We're very lucky to have a lot of these things. These three robes, we have pictures next to them with His Holiness actually wearing them. So we know that they were his, that he wore them and used them. So we're honored and lucky. And now we're going to go to the corner and finish our program. Thank you.